The planet of Zithera was known across the galaxy for its floating cities, vast forests of crystal-like trees, and skies that glowed with 1,000 colors at sunset. Its people, a mixture of humans and various alien species, had always lived cautiously side by side. Peace had been fragile for centuries, maintained by careful agreements and shared respect. But nothing could prepare them for the news that came one quiet morning. Word spread like wildfire through the floating city of Lithoris. The alien queen's dragon, Vorthon, had been wounded. Not just wounded, but severely. Vorthon was no ordinary creature. He was the deadliest dragon in the known galaxy. Legends described him as a beast that could burn entire cities with a single roar and crush starships with the sweep of his wings. No one in Lithoris, or beyond, had ever dared to approach him in anger, and now he was injured, lying in agony near the alien queen's palace. Panic gripped the city. The news caused both fear and curiosity. Citizens rushed to the streets, looking up at the sky for signs of the massive creature, and yet no one dared come close to the palace gates. Not a single healer, doctor, or medic, human or alien, was willing to risk their life treating Vorthon. Even the most experienced dragon handlers and warriors stayed back, shaking their heads and muttering under their breath about how hopeless the situation had become. Among the crowd stood Dr. Leora Kane, a human xenobiologist who had studied alien biology for years. She was smaller than most humans, with short brown hair and sharp green eyes that seemed to miss nothing. Unlike the others, Leora did not feel fear. She felt curiosity and a strong sense of duty. She knew that letting Vorthon die would not only anger the alien queen, but could also disrupt the delicate balance of peace in the galaxy. "Everyone is too afraid to do the right thing," she muttered to herself. Her voice was steady, but her heart raced. She had read about dragon physiology, their unique energy cores, and how sensitive they were to injury. Leora knew that one wrong move could mean instant death, but leaving the creature to suffer was not an option for her. As she stepped forward, the crowd parted, murmuring among themselves. "She's crazy," one alien muttered. "Do you see the size of that thing? It could kill her in a heartbeat." Leora ignored them. She carried a set of specially designed medical tools, crafted to heal even the most dangerous of alien creatures. The tools hummed softly with energy, and some were designed to interact safely with a dragon's unique energy core. She also carried protective gear, including a shield that could withstand fire blasts and claw strikes. Every step toward the palace was measured, every movement calculated. When she reached the outer gates, she found them guarded by the alien queen's personal soldiers. They were tall, with iridescent scales and long, elegant horns. Their eyes glowed faintly, scanning her carefully. "Who approaches the dragon?" one of them demanded in a voice like rolling thunder. "I am Dr. Leora Kane," she replied firmly. "I am here to treat Vorthon. I mean, no harm." The guards exchanged uneasy glances. They had seen humans and aliens alike flee at the first sight of the dragon. Yet there was something different about Leora. Perhaps it was her calm confidence, or the way she carried herself without fear. After a tense moment, the lead guard stepped aside and motioned her through. Inside the palace courtyard, the sight took her breath away. Vorthon lay on the ground, his massive wings folded awkwardly beneath him. Scales that usually shone like polished obsidian were chipped and scorched, smoke rising from a deep wound near his chest. His eyes, normally fierce and commanding, were half-closed in pain. Each breath he took made the ground tremble slightly. Even from a distance, she could sense the immense power radiating from him. The alien queen appeared silently at the edge of the courtyard. She was tall and regal, her skin a soft lavender hue, and her eyes shimmered like stars. Her presence demanded attention, but she did not approach Vorthon directly. Instead, she watched Leora carefully, her expression unreadable. "You are brave," the queen said softly, "or foolish. Many have come before you, and all have failed, or died." "I only wish to help," Leora replied, bowing slightly. "This dragon is in pain. Leaving him like this could have consequences." The queen studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "You may proceed, but know this. Vorthon is not merely an animal. He is my protector, my companion. He is bound to me in ways you cannot understand. If you harm him, even by mistake, you will pay dearly." "I understand," Leora said. Carefully, she approached the wounded dragon. Vorthan's head lifted slightly, and he let out a low, rumbling growl that shook the air. Leora froze for a heartbeat. The sound was terrifying. Yet it carried something else: pain, confusion, and even trust. Slowly, she knelt beside him, keeping her movements slow and deliberate. She examined the wound near his chest. It was deep, and she could see that his energy core, the glowing organ that powered his abilities, was unstable. If it was not stabilized soon, it could collapse entirely, possibly killing him within hours. Leora reached into her bag and pulled out a small glowing device. It was designed to interact safely with energy cores, channeling healing energy without triggering defensive reactions. She activated it carefully, keeping her hand steady despite the fear gripping her chest. Vorthan's eyes narrowed, and he hissed softly. A wave of heat rolled off his body, and Leora felt it even through her protective suit. She held her ground, speaking in a low, soothing voice. "I am here to help. Nothing else?" For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the dragon lowered his head slightly, allowing her to place the device near his chest. The glow of the device merged with the faint pulse of his energy core. She could see the fluctuations slowly stabilizing, and the smoke rising from his wound began to dissipate. But the dragon was far from healed. Every movement made him flinch. Every breath was painful. Leora worked tirelessly, alternating between alien techniques she had learned and human medical technology. Sweat dripped from her forehead, but she did not stop. Around her, the courtyard remained silent. The citizens had gathered at a safe distance, watching in awe and fear. Even the alien queen remained quiet, her eyes fixed on the scene. Hours passed. Leora's hands were sore, and her energy was waning, but she refused to leave. She spoke softly to the dragon, explaining what she was doing, reassuring him. Something extraordinary began to happen. Vorthan's tension eased, his growls less frequent. The dragon was responding to her words, to her calm presence. Suddenly, a loud explosion shook the palace gates. Citizens screamed as a group of mysterious figures, mercenaries, heavily armed, stormed the outer walls. Their goal was unclear, but their weapons were designed to kill dragons. Leora's heart raced. She had to finish stabilizing Vorthan before anything worse happened. "Stay calm," she whispered to the dragon. "I am here. You are safe." The dragon's eyes, once full of pain, now seemed to recognize her. He lifted his massive head, and, in a voice that was more felt than heard, a deep vibration in the ground. He growled, not in anger, but in warning. The mercenaries froze for a moment, startled by the sheer force of the sound. The alien queen moved swiftly, her soldiers forming a protective barrier around the courtyard. But Leora ignored the chaos around her. She focused entirely on Vorthan, finishing the last stages of the energy stabilization. With a final pulse of her device, the dragon's energy core glowed steadily, and the wound began to close. Smoke and heat vanished, leaving a faint shimmer on his scales. Vorthan slowly rose to his feet. Every movement was cautious, but he was alive. More than that, he seemed aware, as if he understood who had helped him. Leora stepped back, exhausted but triumphant. Around her, the city held its breath. No one had dared believe this could happen. The alien queen approached, her expression softening. "You have done what no one else could," she said. "You have earned my respect. And Vorthan's." The dragon, still towering and fierce, lowered his massive head toward Leora. For the first time, the people of Litharis saw not a monster, but a creature capable of trust, of connection, of loyalty. And in that moment, something shocking happened. Vorthan's eyes, which had glowed like molten gold, focused entirely on Leora. A small pulse of energy radiated from him, brushing gently against her hands. It was not an attack, it was recognition, and perhaps even gratitude. The city watched in stunned silence. Fear had turned into wonder, and for Leora, The adventure was just beginning. Little did she know this wound was not an accident, and the real danger, one that could threaten all species in the galaxy, was yet to reveal itself. The courtyard of the alien queen's palace was quiet now, but the calm was only temporary. The citizens of Litherus had begun to return to their homes, whispering about the bravery of Dr. Leora Kane and the incredible recovery of Vorthon, the deadliest dragon in the galaxy. Yet Leora knew that the real challenge had just begun. Although Vorthon's wound had stabilized, the dragon's energy core, the source of his power, was still weak. If it failed completely, not only would Vorthon die, but the very city could face disaster. Dragons were linked to the planet's energy flow in a way no human fully understood. An unstable dragon could accidentally release a blast of energy that could destroy buildings, forests, and even entire districts. Leora crouched beside the massive creature, scanning his energy with her portable device. The glowing pulse of his core flickered intermittently. She frowned. "It's worse than I thought," she muttered. Vorthon's head moved slightly, and his deep golden eyes focused on her. There was a flicker of recognition, almost as if he understood her words. Leora felt a strange sense of connection. She had studied alien species for years, but nothing like this had ever happened before. This dragon was intelligent, aware, and he seemed to be waiting for her guidance. The alien queen approached, her lavender skin shimmering in the light of the setting suns. "You have done well," she said softly. "But healing his physical wounds is only the first step. His core. It is poisoned. Someone has tampered with it." Leora's heart skipped a beat. "Poisoned?" she asked. "How? By what?" The queen shook her head. "I do not know. He was attacked while flying over the Crimson Wastes, a dangerous region beyond our borders. No ordinary predator could wound him like that. This was deliberate." Leora felt a chill run down her spine. A targeted attack on Vorthon could mean war, if the wrong factions learned of it. She glanced at the dragon who was watching her intently. She could feel his pain, his fear, and his trust. And she knew, if she failed, it would not only cost him his life, it could ignite conflict between humans and aliens. "I need to stabilize him completely," she said firmly, "and I need to find out who did this." The queen nodded. "You may use the inner chambers, but be warned, his recovery is fragile. Any sudden movement, any stress, could trigger a violent reaction. He is still dangerous, even in this state." Leora carefully guided Vorthon into a specially prepared chamber deep inside the palace. The room was massive, designed to accommodate dragons, with reinforced walls and a wide ceiling. Energy stabilizers hummed softly in the corners, and vats of healing compounds lined the walls. As she began the procedure, Leora reviewed everything she knew about dragon physiology. Dragons were not just large creatures, they were living engines of energy. Their cores drew from the planet's energy flow, and injuries could create unstable feedback loops. Her plan was to use a combination of alien healing techniques and human medical devices to repair the core and detoxify the poison. Vorthon lay still for a moment, his massive head resting on the floor. Then, with a slow, low growl, he raised his wings slightly. Leora froze. Even though he was weak, the dragon's muscles were like steel. One wrong move and she could be crushed instantly. "Easy," she whispered, moving slowly. "I won't hurt you." The dragon's eyes narrowed, but he did not attack. Instead, he tilted his head, watching her carefully. Leora noticed something remarkable. He was aware of her intentions. She realized that this was not just a healing mission. It was a test of trust. Hours passed. Leora worked tirelessly, alternating between adjusting his energy core and applying alien compounds to his body. Sweat dripped down her face, and her arms ached, but she refused to stop. She spoke softly to him, explaining every step. "I'm here to help you. You're safe. I won't let anything happen to you." Vorthon's reaction was slow but noticeable. The dragon's chest rose and fell more evenly, and the flickering pulse of his core began to stabilize. He let out a low hum, a sound that vibrated the walls of the chamber. Leora realized that the hum was a sign of partial healing, something she had only read about in ancient alien texts. Suddenly, the chamber doors shook violently. Alarm sirens blared. Leora's heart raced. She rushed to the door and saw a group of armored mercenaries attempting to break in. Their weapons were designed to capture or kill dragons, and their intentions were clear. They wanted Vorthon dead. Leora's mind raced. She could not leave him vulnerable, not now. She activated the protective shields around the chamber, but the force of the attack caused the walls to tremble. Vorthon stirred, his tail lashing against the floor. Even in his weakened state, his presence was terrifying. "Stay calm," Leora whispered, placing her hand on his glowing chest. "I am here. You are safe." For a moment, nothing happened. Then Vorthon's eyes glowed brighter, and he let out a deep, resonant roar that shook the entire palace. The mercenaries froze, their weapons trembling in their hands. Leora realized that the dragon was defending her, not out of anger, but recognition. The alien queen's soldiers arrived, forming a barrier between the chamber and the intruders. Their iridescent scales gleamed as they moved in perfect formation. But Leora did not look away from Vorthon. She continued her work, adjusting the energy stabilizers and carefully applying the detoxifying compounds. Hours passed. The mercenaries were finally driven away, retreating into the night, but Leora's work was far from over. Vorthon's energy core was stable, but the poison was still inside him. She had to detoxify it completely before it could harm him further. As she worked, the alien queen spoke softly beside her. "You are brave, Humyn," she said. "I have seen few who could face a dragon in this state and not flee. But bravery alone is not enough. You must understand him. Dragons are intelligent, aware, and they remember every action. Trust is earned, not given." Leora nodded. "I know. I'm learning." Vorthon shifted slightly, raising his massive wings. Leora could feel the heat radiating from him, a constant reminder of the danger. But she also felt something else, a connection. The dragon was beginning to trust her, slowly but surely. By the early hours of the morning, Vorthon's poison levels had dropped significantly. His breathing was steady, and the flickering of his energy core was gone. Leora let out a sigh of relief. She had done it, so far. But she knew that this was only the beginning. She stepped back and looked at him. The dragon lowered his head slightly, a gesture that felt almost like gratitude. Leora felt a strange warmth in her chest. This was not just a victory for science, it was a bond forming between species, a connection that could change the course of history. The queen studied the scene quietly. "You have done what few could," she said. "But there is more to this attack than we know. Vorthon was targeted, and someone wants to ignite war between our peoples. We must find them before it is too late." Leora nodded, determination shining in her eyes. "Then we will find them. Together." Vorthon let out a low growl, not of anger, but as if he understood her words. The bond between them had grown stronger. He was no longer just the deadliest dragon in the galaxy. He was a living ally, capable of understanding and loyalty. The next day, Leora and the Queen began investigating the attack. They discovered traces of advanced alien technology near the Crimson Wastes, technology not native to Zithera. Whoever had attacked Vorthon had planned it carefully, leaving behind clues that could only be understood by someone with Leora's knowledge. As they worked, Vorthon followed them, moving slowly but steadily. The dragon's presence was both terrifying and comforting. Citizens who saw him now no longer ran in fear. They watched in awe, whispering about the human who had tamed the deadliest dragon through courage and skill. But even as progress was made, Leora could sense a growing danger. The attackers were clever, hiding their true motives. She realized that healing Vorthon was only the first step. To protect the city, the dragon, and perhaps the entire galaxy, they would have to face the unknown enemy. And the enemy was closer than anyone imagined. Night fell over Lytherus, and Vorthon rested in the chamber, his eyes glowing faintly as he breathed steadily. Leora sat nearby, exhausted but vigilant. She knew that the real challenge had only just begun. Trust had been established, but the battle ahead would test every skill, every courage, and every bond she had with the dragon. And somewhere in the shadows, the true mastermind of the attack watched carefully, waiting for the right moment to strike again. The morning sun rose over Lithoris, casting a golden glow on the floating city. The people moved cautiously, still talking about the events of the previous night. The miraculous recovery of Vorthan, the deadliest dragon in the galaxy, had become the story of the city. But for Dr. Leora Kane, there was no time for celebration. The danger was far from over. Even though the dragon had stabilized, traces of the poison still lingered in his system. Leora knew she could not complete the full detoxification in the palace alone. The poison's origin remained a mystery, and more importantly, the attackers were still out there. Someone had deliberately targeted Vorthan, and that meant someone was trying to spark war between humans and aliens. The alien queen, standing beside her in the palace courtyard, spoke quietly. "We cannot let fear guide us. The attackers hope we will act without thinking. We must be cautious. Strategic." Leora nodded. "I understand, but we need to track them. If we wait too long, they could strike again, or worse." Vorthan stirred beside them, his massive wings folding gracefully. He was still recovering, but there was a new alertness in his eyes. He watched Leora closely, following her movements. Something extraordinary had begun to happen. The dragon was forming a bond with her. "Do you see it?" Leora asked softly. "He trusts me." The queen's gaze softened. "Indeed, but trust is delicate. One wrong action could undo it." Leora approached Vorthan cautiously, placing a hand near his massive jaw. He lowered his head slightly, a gesture of recognition. Then, surprisingly, he nudged her hand with his snout, as if to communicate understanding. Leora's heart swelled. She had read about dragons being intelligent, but she had never imagined this level of awareness and connection. The first step was clear. They needed information. Leora suggested a scouting mission to the Crimson Wastes, the dangerous region where Vorthan had been ambushed. The queen agreed but insisted that Vorthan remain in the city for now, as traveling in his weakened state could be fatal. Instead, Leora decided to investigate using drones and sensors, a combination of human technology and alien devices. She worked alongside the queen's advisors, reviewing energy signatures and scanning for traces of advanced alien tech. Hours passed as they pieced together fragments of the attack. And then they found it. A faint but unmistakable energy trail leading deeper into the wastes. The trail was left intentionally, almost like a breadcrumb for someone skilled enough to follow. Leora felt a thrill of anticipation. This was the first real lead they had. While Leora worked, Vorthan remained close by, observing her with intense curiosity. He followed her steps around the chamber, moving silently despite his size. Something remarkable happened as she adjusted a sensor near his wings. The dragon leaned slightly into her touch, as if understanding the connection between their work and his recovery. "This is incredible," Leora whispered. "He's not just recovering, he's learning from me." The queen watched silently. "Dragons are not simple beasts," she said. "They are aware, perceptive, and patient. Vorthan has chosen to recognize your courage and intent. But remember, trust is fragile." By mid-afternoon, the energy trail led them to a hidden cave deep in the Crimson Wastes. Leora examined the area using her scanners. Strange metallic fragments, unfamiliar symbols, and energy traces indicated that the attackers had left evidence, intentionally or unintentionally. Whoever they were highly skilled. "This technology, it's not from Zythera," Leora murmured, examining the fragments. "It's advanced, probably from another planet." They knew exactly how to target a dragon's core without killing him immediately. The queen's expression darkened. "Then this is no ordinary attack. Someone wants to start a war, and Vorthan was only the first move." Vorthan stirred behind them, sensing the tension. He let out a low growl, and the ground beneath their feet trembled slightly. The dragon's instincts were telling them something important. The attackers were closer than they thought. Leora realized that their mission was more dangerous than she had anticipated. Tracking the attackers meant risking confrontation with beings who had already proven deadly. But she also knew that Vorthan's trust could be a weapon, if used wisely. Returning to the palace, Leora began preparing a plan. She would strengthen Vorthan's bond further, train him to respond to her commands, and create a strategy to confront the attackers safely. The process was delicate. The dragon was immensely powerful, and even the slightest misstep could lead to disaster. Over the next several days, Leora worked tirelessly. She spent hours beside Vorthan, observing his behavior, learning his signals, and teaching him subtle commands. She discovered that certain tones of her voice, combined with gestures, could calm him instantly or direct his movements. And something unexpected happened. The bond deepened beyond trust. Vorthan began showing protective behavior toward her. He would stand between her and anyone approaching too quickly. When she moved through the palace, he followed, always aware of her presence and safety. The citizens of Litherus began to notice the change. Where once they had feared the dragon, now they watched in awe. A human had connected with the deadliest creature in the galaxy, not by force, but through courage, patience, and compassion. It was unprecedented. Then, one evening, a shocking event occurred. As Leora was reviewing energy scans in the palace chamber, she noticed a subtle fluctuation, a signal hidden among the background noise. She recognized it immediately. It was a message encoded in the energy patterns, almost like a signature left by the attackers. "They're communicating," she whispered to the queen. "Someone is signaling through the energy we've been tracking. This isn't just a random attack, it's coordinated." The queen's eyes narrowed. "Then they are cleverer than we imagined. We must act carefully. You must be ready, Humyn." Leora realized that she was not only a healer, but also a strategist. She and Vorthan had to work together to uncover the attackers' motives and prevent further harm. The bond between human and dragon was no longer just about survival. It was about trust, partnership, and mutual understanding. Over the next few days, the encoded signals revealed a shocking truth. The attackers were a rogue faction of mercenaries, hired to create chaos between humans and aliens. They wanted to profit from war, selling dragon parts and energy technology to the highest bidder across the galaxy. "This explains everything," Leora said quietly. "The ambush, the poison, the advanced technology. It was all planned to push us into conflict." Vorthan responded in his own way. He lowered his head toward Leora, letting out a soft, rumbling hum. It was as if he understood the danger and was ready to act with her. The queen approached, her expression solemn. "This is more serious than we feared. The attackers will not hesitate to strike again. But now, you have Vorthan's loyalty. That is a power few could command." The bond between Leora and Vorthan had grown so strong that the dragon seemed almost human in his understanding. When Leora planned the next move, he would respond instinctively, positioning himself in ways that protected her, while also preparing for offense if necessary. One night, as they rested in the chamber, Leora spoke softly to him. "We will face them together, Vorthan. You and I, we're a team now." The dragon's eyes glowed faintly in response, the pulse of his energy core reflecting a quiet determination. He had been the deadliest creature in the galaxy, feared by all, yet here he was, forming a bond with a human. It was a bond that could change the course of history. The next morning, the queen summoned her advisors and Leora. They began to strategize an ambush of their own, using Vorthan's abilities and Leora's knowledge of alien technology. They could not attack blindly. The rogue faction was dangerous, clever, and heavily armed. But the bond between human and dragon gave them a unique advantage. Vorthan could sense danger long before it arrived. He could move silently, strike with precision, and protect Leora in ways no other being could. And Leora had learned to read his signals, to anticipate his actions, and to guide him with subtle gestures. As preparations continued, the city of Litherus remained unaware of the danger lurking nearby. Citizens went about their daily lives, marveling at the dragon who now walked peacefully among them, always under the careful watch of a human healer who had earned his trust. But the rogue faction was closer than anyone suspected. Hidden in the shadows of the Crimson Wastes, They watched the city, planning their next move. They had underestimated the bond between human and dragon, and that miscalculation could be their downfall. Leora, aware of the stakes, worked tirelessly to strengthen Vorthon further. Each day brought new lessons in communication, trust, and strategy. They practiced maneuvers, tested his energy responses, and prepared for any attack. The bond was no longer just emotional, it was tactical. And then, one evening, Vorthon performed an act that shocked even Leora. As she approached him, he lowered his massive head and nudged her forward, as if indicating something she could not yet see. She followed his gaze and realized he had sensed an intruder near the palace perimeter. The sensors had not detected it, but Vorthon's instinct had. Together, they prepared for the confrontation. The bond between them was now undeniable, a perfect blend of intelligence, instinct, and trust. The deadliest dragon in the galaxy was no longer a mindless force. He was an ally, a protector, and a partner. Leora smiled, feeling a surge of confidence. "We're ready, Vorthon. Let's show them what we can do, together." And for the first time, the city of Litherus felt a sense of hope. Not just because the dragon had survived, but because a human had shown that courage, compassion, and intelligence could tame even the deadliest forces of the galaxy. The true battle was approaching, and when it came, human and dragon would face it as one, united, unstoppable, and loyal to each other. The night over Litherus was unusually quiet, but the city's calm was deceptive. From the distance of the Crimson Wastes, shadowy figures watched carefully, studying the movements of the alien queen's palace. The rogue mercenaries who had attacked Vorthon once before were planning their next strike. Their goal was simple but dangerous: create chaos, profit from war, and ensure that neither humans nor aliens would trust each other again. Inside the palace, Dr. Leora Kane and the alien queen prepared for the confrontation. Vorthon, now fully recovered, lay nearby, his massive form filling the chamber. The bond between Leora and the dragon had grown stronger with every day. He followed her every movement, his eyes glowing faintly, muscles coiled, ready to act at her signal. "We need to end this tonight," Leora said, her voice firm. "They won't stop until someone fights back." The queen nodded. "I agree. But caution is necessary. They are clever, and their technology is dangerous." Leora studied the energy scans once more. The attackers were heavily armed, using advanced weapons designed specifically to target dragons. But Vorthon was no longer just a dragon. He was her partner, her ally, and a living force of protection. Hours later, under the cover of darkness, the first signs of movement appeared near the palace perimeter. Shadows shifted among the rocks of the Crimson Wastes, and the faint glow of energy weapons could be seen. Leora and the queen moved into position, while Vorthon followed silently, blending into the shadows. Suddenly, a loud blast shook the outer walls of the palace. The rogue faction had arrived. They were more numerous than expected, but Vorthon reacted instantly. With a powerful sweep of his wings, he created a gust strong enough to knock several attackers off their feet. Leora's heart pounded, but she remained focused, guiding him with calm, precise commands. "Left flank!" she shouted. Vorthon pivoted, his claws striking with precision. The attackers had underestimated the dragon's speed and intelligence. Unlike a mindless beast, he moved with calculated skill, protecting Leora and the queen while neutralizing threats. The rogue mercenaries, realizing they were facing a trained and intelligent dragon, hesitated. But their leader was clever. Using a device that emitted an energy pulse, he attempted to disorient Vorthon. The dragon stumbled slightly, and Leora's heart skipped a beat. But she didn't panic. Instead, she adjusted her position and spoke to him in a soothing tone. "Focus, Vorthon. You can do this. I'm here." The dragon responded, recovering instantly. With a roar that shook the ground, he surged forward, creating a protective barrier around Leora and the queen. The attackers were pushed back, their energy weapons sparking against the reinforced shields of the palace. Amid the chaos, Leora noticed a strange pattern in the attackers' movements. They were coordinated, almost as if following signals from a central source. She realized the shocking truth. This was not just an attack. It was a trap designed to test the dragon's loyalty and her own skills. Vorthon sensed it too. His movements became sharper, more precise, and his instincts guided him to intercept the attackers before they could regroup. Every strike was calculated, and his protective energy pulses shielded the palace from destruction. Then, in the midst of the battle, Leora saw something that stunned her. The attackers were carrying fragments of dragon technology, devices capable of amplifying energy and controlling creatures. They had used these devices to weaken Vorthon in the first attack. But now, thanks to her guidance and his trust, the dragon anticipated their every move. With a sudden surge of energy, Vorthon unleashed a controlled pulse that disabled the attackers' devices. Sparks flew, weapons short-circuited, and the rogue faction was thrown into disarray. Leora realized that the dragon's recovery and their bond had given them an advantage no human or alien army could match. The leader of the rogue faction stepped forward, wielding a powerful energy blade. He charged at the queen, hoping to strike a fatal blow. Vorthon reacted instantly, positioning himself between the attacker and the queen. With a swift strike of his tail, he disarmed the leader and knocked him off balance. Leora stepped forward, using a containment device to immobilize him safely. The rest of the attackers, seeing their leader captured and their technology neutralized, surrendered. Vorthon lowered his massive head, and the palace fell silent except for the hum of stabilizers. The battle was over. The queen approached Leora, her expression filled with awe. "You and Vorthon have done what no one thought possible," she said. "You have not only defended the city but also proven that trust between species can overcome fear and hatred." Leora looked at the dragon, who let out a soft, low rumble. It was a sound that conveyed recognition, gratitude, and loyalty. The people of Litherus, who had gathered at a safe distance, watched in amazement. Their fear of the dragon had transformed into respect and wonder. But the night held one more shocking revelation. As Leora examined the captured devices, she discovered hidden data files. They revealed the true mastermind behind the attacks, a wealthy industrialist from a distant system who sought to profit from war. He had hired the rogue faction to destabilize Zithera, weaken the dragons, and sell dragon energy cores to the highest bidder. "This was bigger than we imagined," Leora whispered. "They wanted to profit from conflict, to turn our peoples against each other." The queen nodded gravely. "And they failed. Thanks to your courage, Humyn, and Vorthon's loyalty, their plan is undone. But we must ensure this never happens again." Vorthon shifted beside her, his massive wings folding neatly. He had faced danger, pain, and betrayal, yet he had remained loyal to Leora. Their bond had turned the tide of the battle, and it was stronger than anyone could have predicted. The city celebrated quietly the next day. The rogue faction had been captured and sent to a secure facility for questioning. Leora received commendations from both humans and aliens, but she cared little for accolades. Her greatest reward was the trust she had earned from Vorthon. As the sun rose, casting light on the floating city, Leora and the queen walked through the courtyard. Vorthon followed silently, his eyes alert. The citizens watched in awe as the once feared dragon now moved calmly among them, guided by the human who had saved his life. The queen turned to Leora. "You have proven that courage, compassion, and intelligence can tame even the deadliest forces in the galaxy. You have changed our world." Leora smiled, feeling a sense of pride and relief. "We did it together, Vorthon," she said softly. The dragon responded with a gentle hum, acknowledging their partnership. In the following weeks, the palace began to implement new protocols for dragon care and protection, using the knowledge Leora had provided. Humans and aliens worked together, inspired by the example set by her and Vorthon. Peace was strengthened, not through fear, but through understanding and trust. The bond between Leora and Vorthon continued to grow. She trained him further, learning new ways to communicate and coordinate. The dragon, in turn, became not just a protector of the alien queen, but a symbol of unity between species. One evening, as Leora stood atop the palace balcony with Vorthon by her side, the city below shimmered in the light of the twin moons. The air was calm, the danger of war had passed, and the once deadly dragon now stood as a guardian, a friend, and a living testament to courage and trust. And yet, even in this moment of peace, Leora knew the galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and challenges. But she also knew one undeniable truth. With courage, intelligence, and trust, even the deadliest forces could become allies. Vorthan leaned his massive head toward her, nudging her gently. Leora smiled, placing her hand on his scaled snout. Together, they watched the horizon, ready for whatever new adventure the galaxy might bring. The city of Lithoris had witnessed something extraordinary. The story of the wounded Deadliest dragon and the brave human who healed him would be told for generations, a story of trust, courage, and the power of unlikely bonds. For Leora, the journey had changed her life. For Vorthon, the experience had forged a loyalty that would last forever. And for the galaxy, it had proven one simple truth. Courage and compassion can tame even the wildest forces of nature, and unity can overcome any threat. The night was quiet now, peaceful. And high above the floating city, the dragon and his human companion stood together, ready to face the future, side by side.